It's President Obama's Supreme Court smackdown in his first public comment since last week's historic arguments challenging his signature health care law. The president said overturning it would be extraordinary and unprecedented.
Ultimately, I'm confident that the Supreme Court will not take what would be an unprecedented, extraordinary step of overturning a law that was passed by a strong majority of a democratically elected Congress.
I'm joined now by Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat from California. Congresswoman, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
The president, I'm sure you know, has been getting some criticism for his comments for targeting the Supreme Court. Do you think he went too far?
Well, I don't think he went too far. I certainly hope that they will not overturn the law, absolutely. But one thing I do know for sure, we don't know what the Supreme Court is going to do, but we certainly know what Mitt Romney would do if he were president. He would wipe away repeal the entire law.
Well, let me read part of what the Washington Post's Ruth Marcus wrote this morning. Quote,
Sure.
The president's critique buys into an unfortunate and largely unwarranted conservative critique of judicial power. We want our judges unelected. We want them to have the final constitutional say. The president should be arguing for a second term to prevent the court from tipping in an even more conservative direction. Does she have a point?
Well, I think that, it's not as though the president tried to direct the court as to what they were to do. He gave his opinion, and I certainly hope that they don't repeal health care reform. If you look at it, if you think of the millions of people that now have access to preventive care, you think of the children that are able to stay on their parents' health insurance plan, the idea that we would take this away from people right now, I think is unconscionable, and I certainly hope that the Supreme Court understands that and does not repeal the Affordable Care Act.
But do you think that these reports that Democrats, the president at the head of the list, is trying to send a message to the court to say don't overstep? Do you think that there's not an effort out there to sway the swing judge, Justice Kennedy, or perhaps Chief Justice Roberts, who is known to be concerned about his legacy, is known to be concerned about the perception that there may be political influence on the court?
I don't think the president needs to send the court a message. I mean, everyone in the country, including everyone in the court, understands how significant the Affordable Care Act is to President Obama's first term. I mean, everybody understands that, and so I don't think that there's a need to send a message. But what I do think is important is that we continue as Democrats, we continue to educate the public about what would be taken away from them if the Affordable Care Act is overturned. And I really believe that folks in our country will not stand for that. People are beginning to take advantage of the fact that if you're a senior and you're on Medicare, that donut hole is closed and you no longer have to take that money out of pocket. And then in another couple of years, pre-existing conditions for everyone will not be longer any way that you can deny health insurance. Right now, pre-existing conditions cannot be refused for children, but in a couple of years, it'll be for everyone.
And the president isn't stopping at talking about the Supreme Court. He's taking on House Republicans and especially the Ryan budget plan today. There's going to be a little talk he gives at an Associated Press luncheon. He is expected to call it a Trojan horse disguised as a deficit reduction plan. And in the preview of the speech that we got, he goes on to call it thinly veiled social Darwinism. It sounds like the president's in full campaign mode. What do you think?
Well, you know what? I think that's absolutely right. And I think don't take his word for it. Read the Ryan budget yourself, the path to prosperity. I mean, he calls for the elimination of Medicare in order to save it, the elimination of Medicaid in order to save it. Calling it social Darwinism, the survival of the fittest, I think is absolutely right on point. I think that the Ryan budget, the Republican budget, because it's not just Paul Ryan, I think what happens there is that deficit reduction is used to fundamentally change our country. And I don't believe the vision of the country that is in the path to prosperity is what the American people want to have. I just don't believe it's consistent with our values. I don't believe it's consistent with our history.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, it's very good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.